Hello and welcome to our tutorial. We're going to create a kind of a menu here for our dungeon crawler. It'll be a 3D menu. So you need to user preferences here in add-ons and type in the word tree. And I'm going to turn on this is a sapling generator. So I'm going to add so it's in curves and my sapling. And then over here in my toolbar, I'm going to get all of the properties. So the first thing I want to do is turn on bevel, so it's three-dimensional. And we're starting here, this item here has 2,600 verts. So I'm going to reduce the scale of it here a little bit, just make it a bit smaller. And then we're going to skip to branch growth, and we can change this a little bit more here. And now we're going to go to our pruning and turn on prune. And okay, actually we'll leave that. It looks fine. Leaves. Let's turn on show leaves. So at the moment we're at 5,000 verts. It's very easy with this plugin to end up at 500,000 verts if you're not careful. So we'll leave them all at the default, and we'll go armature, and we'll add in an armature. So use armature, and we'll go back to our geometry here. So one of the things we can do is we can load in a preset tree. And I just want to show you, so I've made this here, and it's very simple. I've made almost no changes to it from the default settings. And it's at 5,000 verts. And if I load in a preset tree, like this one, I'm at 82,000 verts before I add any leaves. And then the number of leaves. So if I just put in 500, you can see I'm at 153,000 more, 180,000 verts. Now it'll be a good looking tree, but we do have to ask ourselves, do we want to put 183,000 verts into a tree that's only going to be in the menu of our game? And the answer to that is no. Well, my answer to that is no. So I'll select this and delete it. Select the leaves and delete them. And we're going to start again. So we're going to add our sapling. I'm going to bevel. Oh, not leaves. Go to our geometry and we'll bevel. We can reduce our curve resolution and reduce our geometry. We've got a cylindrical taper to the leaves, and so this is our branch distribution. And random seed is sort of to randomly generate our tree. So that's not bad there. And again, we've got our scale, so that's not too bad. Now let's go to branch growth. There we go. Down angle. Yeah. And curvature. So we're just kind of tweaking a little and trying to kind of customize it. We'll skip pruning so we can cut off leaves and whatnot. We've got a branch splitting actually. So this makes a huge difference, and you can see our geometry changes dramatically when we do it, but it makes the tree far more believable. So we can trunk height. There we go. So again, I'm just playing with these settings here to see what we can get. So this this is closer to what I'm interested in. I am at 41,000 verts, and that's quite a lot. So I don't think I'll try not to increase anything more from there. Now we can put leaves on this. And you can see I've shot up. I've nearly doubled my geometry to 90,000. Cool. Let's look through our camera. It's not a terribly good angle, so we'll pull out and we'll have a better sort of angle on the tree. And I'm going to create an image from this. So I'm going to go to Cycles Render and select my item here. So, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Let's turn that off and go back in. So I've got my my materials. I can go use nodes. So this is the trunk of the tree. So if I go into my node editor, I'll make it sort of a dark brownish color, and we'll go render. So at the moment we can see that we've got our dark brown in the trunk, and then if we select our leaves, so our leaves have no texture at the moment. There's no materials here, so we'll go new, and we'll call this leaf. Now let's go to the internet and have a look at, we'll go leaf texture free PNG and see what we get. And what I'm looking for is something with an alpha channel around it. Now normally when you put in PNG you'll get that. Now I should probably go to CC Search and do this properly, so I'm guaranteed not to get a copyright image. So this looks fine here. So I'm going to save that. So save image as, and it's a JPEG. So that's not what I want. I want a PNG file. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. I will just save that as a leaf, and we'll open it here and see if we can make a. We'll save it as a. Oh, there it is there. So it is a JPEG, so it's not what we want, and it's not very good. So let's go back here and see if we can get a better image. And that's better. So save image as, we'll call it a, whatever that is there. Over here, we don't want that guy. No, thank you. So let's open our other leaf, which is there. And we will unlock it. And we will use our selection tool to select all the white. We'll delete that white, and we'll go File, Save As. And it's a PNG file that we're looking for. So PNG, and we'll call it leaf1. And we'll leave it here in this in our dungeon folder. Okay. Now I could crop it and I could tweak it, but that'll be fine. So let's unwrap our leaves. Now, when I go into edit mode, you'll see that they're already here. So I'm going to go Open, Dungeon, and then preview this. And this is our leaf PNG file. So we'll bring that in there. And let's, then down here for our leaf, we need to bring in the texture. Now, those of you who are used to using cycles, you won't even think about this. You'll just do it. If you haven't used cycles before, it's a very different system to the Blender internal engine. So you use this window here called a node editor instead of using materials and textures over here. Now you still can use these bars, but they're not intended. It's much more difficult workflow over here. This is basically just giving you a list of what you're using in this window, and the nodes are, they're complex, so we can, use interesting sort of configurations with them. So, and we use shaders, so it's a much more kind of modern implementation of. It's a much more modern way to apply materials and textures. So now let's have a look at what we've got in our rendered images. So this is much closer to the finished products that we are looking for, and if we very quickly just zoom in, you can see that our leaves are not quite right. We can still see the black area around them. Okay, so sorry for that interruption. So what we've got here is our setup. So what we had originally was, just let me delete these, is this here. So we'd put in our image and our diffuse image and our materials. This is our output, and we can still see the black in the background. So we need to tell Blender to make it transparent. Now I've just gone to rendered mode here, so you can see finished product. So I'm going to add in a transparent shader, and then what we need is a mixed shader. So we put these in here, and you can see, so if just with the two of these, I can have fully opaque, fully transparent. So so now you can see that we've put in the alpha channel of the image is going into the mix shader, so it's telling it to make it alpha. And then we've got, so this is basically saying this part is see-through, this part is solid. And we have them the wrong way round, as you can see. So this needs to go to the bottom, and this needs to go to the top. And now we have this here. And so that's fairly effective as a method of getting our leaves onto our tree. So if I zoom out and have a look at what the camera can see, you can see at this distance with all the leaves, etc. I mean, we don't need 51,000 verts. However, that is what we have, so that is what we will live with. So if I press render, and in fact, just let me fix the render. So you get a still image. So I'm going to go GPU compute. I've got an NVIDIA GPU, so it's much faster to render. I'm going to go full HD. And now sampling is the quality of the render. Now by default it's set preview to 32, which is too high, so I'll set that to 10. And this is way too high for what we're doing. So let's say 50 on the render. And then we have perform. You can hear the fan on my computer already relaxing. And we'll go 256. This is the size of the render squares you'll see now. So each one of these squares is 256 by 256 pixels. This is a much faster render. So this is our tree using the sapling generator in Blender and rendered true cycles. So let's go out of rendered mode and back into something simpler. Now I'm going to add a plane and scale it by a factor of, say, 10, and maybe another 2. So that's it there. I am going to make it smooth and go into edit mode, and I'm going to subdivide this. And I'm going to subdivide it 10 times. Because that's the maximum I think I can subdivide it, yeah. So go to edit mode, back in, and we'll do that again. So I'm going to subdivide it a second time. And that's probably enough for what we're doing. Now, I'm going to turn on connected, so my proportional and editing. And I'm going to select all of the verts on the outside and go GZ. And now I've got this white circle in the middle that you can see. I can make it bigger and smaller, and it's basically giving me fall off, right? And we can see the shape of the fall off. So maybe we'll try a spherical one. So, in fact, actually, it's probably easier to do this in a slightly different way. So I'm going to go C, and I'm just going to select this kind of middle section here, and G, and Z, and then, yeah, that's not too bad there. Okay. We'll set it to be smooth, and we'll probably subdivide it in a second. So GZ, we'll bring that until it intersects with the ground. So GZ, there we go. And this here, we'll add a subsurface modifier just to smooth it out a little bit. And we can always go in and tweak it a little bit, you know. And okay. Now, so that's sort of what we see here. I'm just going to grab this and extend it out that way, just so it's off camera. Same with that one. Okay. That's okay. Now I'm going to go and look at my my world settings. I'm going to go use nodes. And in the node editor, I can click here. It says take me to the world. So we'll go to rendered. We haven't put any texture on the ground yet. I'm going to add in, and I can add in different shaders, and the options here are different to if I were in the object selection. So my world selection here, so I can set the color of the world in terms of the color of the sky, and let's see what we've got in terms of options. So we have a sky texture. So let's put that in there. And now we have a sky. And we can move this around. And we have all sorts of interesting settings here that we can play around with in terms of trying to set this up to our liking. Now this is kind of a relative, like fairly crude sort of measure of the world, but you can see that you can get some pretty cool. There we go. Some maybe cool is too strong a word. Yeah, some interesting effects. So we will try and bring our horizon down to about there, and hold that like that. Okay, so I'm going to press F12, see what I get. So this is all just internally generated inside Blender. So we could just use this still for making a 2D game, not a 3D game. We could just generate a still out of this and use that as a background for our game menu. And have something like this. Now the sky obviously that I'm using here will be of no use to me in Unity if I want a real like a sky where I can navigate in 3D. So a few little things to sort out here. So again, since we've edited our mesh, we are now hovering above the ground, so we'll fix that. Yeah, so we're now completely immersed in the ground. And we need a texture for the ground, so let's go find that. So let's find let's go to Google, and let's get ourselves a terrain texture with my cap lock on. Okay, and I'm looking for something a little bit like this, and this is already prepped. This is a turbo squid, so it's probably watermarked. I'm guessing. Now, the scale of this image is incorrect really for what I want, but it is just for illustration purposes, so we'll call this terrain. And in Blender, we will take this, we will go into edit mode, select it all, and we will unwrap it, project from view. What will that do for us? Well, if we go in here to our UV image editor and turn off our render, this is what we've got. So I'll do that again, only I'll say bound, so it'll fill the space. I'm going to open our images again, and where's our train? That's the train we're looking for. And we'll open that, and there's the train. I need to go back to my object settings. This object has the ground plane has no material or texture, so I'll go new, we'll call it ground. And again, we'll just add in our image texture, put that in here, and go to terrain. And then we go into our render settings. We can see that the ground is being applied. So, now, where is our light? That's our lamp there. So that's what's generating this effect. Okay. Now, there's one thing we can also do here. We can add in what's called a depth of field. Now, if you've never used depth of field before, it's a rendering effect that we can add in, which is kind of cool. And it tries to emulate basically a defect in a cinema lens, where the cinema lens will have objects in the foreground out of focus, will have a focal plane, so an area that is in focus, and then everything behind it will be out of focus. So this turns it on in the viewport, and then we can, when we select our camera, we can tweak our depth of field, and we can tell it what object is in and out of focus. Let me just give you an example of that. So I'm going to create a new object. I'm going to create an empty, and I'm going to call this empty focal point. So this is the point that the camera will focus on. So if I select the camera here, and I say focal point as the object I'm focusing on, back to rendered mode and look through the camera, and then this here, now this is basically how much it's going to go out of focus. So you can see here the image has gone out of focus. Let me change this here to my 3D view and look at it from the top. If I select this object and I go G, move it back towards the tree, you see now the tree is in focus. Let me do that again. So GX, I'll move it away from the tree, and the tree has gone out of focus. And if I bring it halfway, we should get the front half of the trees in focus and the back half is out. So I'm going to press F12 and render that and see what we get. So we can get these very nice sort of effects in 3D, where we have one part of the image in focus and one part of the image out of focus. Now, I could probably make that the image or the part of the tree that's in focus a little crisper than the part that's out of focus. But we can get a very nice effect using depth of field if we're just generating an image for our backgrounds in a 2D game. So that there is, we have a little bit of banding in this, which is to do with the color depth. So I should probably increase the color depth so we don't get this banding. But it's still a very nice effect. Okay, and we said at the start what we would do is we would create so there's some sort of hole in the ground for the to get into our dungeon. So let's do that very quickly. So I go to my ground plane here, and I am quite literally going to create a hole in the ground. Now, aesthetically, where should it be? Possibly here, somewhere in the foreground. Yeah, okay, so let's, in terms of what the camera can see, we'll do it here. Now, I'm going to just literally sync this down on Z. My proportional editing is not turned on, so I'll turn that on. I'll go GZ, and then I'll make this circle smaller so that now we don't have to go in too far. The further we go, see the way these squares are small and these ones are big, it means we'll get texture stretching. So you don't want to, you don't want it to be too small or too, stretch the texture too much. So that's fine in terms of what the camera can see. It's just a hole. Actually, let's not do that. Let's make it. Let's put it over here beside the tree, and we'll build a little sort of shack above it. So we'll hang on. Oh, this is not turned on. So connect. So GZ. And that's what the camera sees, and we'll try and exaggerate this a little bit. So GZ. Okay. Now let's make sure that our tree is now not floating in space. So and it was a little bit. Okay, so that's important. So that's that there. And what will we put around it? Well, again, let's go back here and we'll go wooden texture, and we'll take this guy here, although it's a bit big. We'll still use it. And view image. And while that's doing that, we'll also say stone texture. And we just want a single stone, so that'll do there. Again, it's quite big. That should do. View image. So this is still loading, is it? So we'll save image as stone texture. That's perfect. And we'll go select a different wooden one. So too big. These are very big. So we'll get something that looks more like a plankton, and we'll just change our design. What design, you say? Indecision. This is a plank, so we'll take that and we'll save it. So save image as wood texture, save. Fine. So now, in object mode, I'm just going to add a mesh cube. Move it over here. And GZ. I'm going to scale it down and then scale it on Z. I'm going to do this quite simply. When I say simply, I'm not going to be very accurate in my unwrapping. So I'm going to go to this image here on my UV. Here we go. Now, go into edit mode. I'm going to go face select and go 1, 2, 3, and 4. U unwrap. And that's not what I wanted really, so I'll go to edge select and select these 4 edges, and I'm going to go Control E, mark seam, and I'm going to do the same down at the bottom. Control E, mark seam. Now back to face selection. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I will unwrap these again and get the same effect. Fantastic. One more seam, mark seam, and face select 1, 2, 3, 4, unwrap. There we go. So I'm going to open my wood texture, which is there. Okay. And we will go to texture here, and we haven't added anything in for this, so we'll call this plank 1, and we go to its material. We'll call this plank 1, and we'll add in our image texture, which will be wood. We'll just join these together and have a look here. So I can in real time move this around. So the grain is going side to side. So we should rotate these 90 degrees. And I'm going to place them there, and I'm going to scale them on Y. And that'll just look a little bit better. And then all I've left to do is unwrap this one and this one. So you unwrap, and it's going to make these a little bit smaller. And all good in the hood. So that's my plank. So I'm going to call it plank 1. And we're going to position this as if there's some sort of structure. I'll place that there. And go Shift D, Shift D, Shift D. And this one here we'll bring Shift D1 to the foreground. And we'll reduce this one's height just to get a bit of variation. So we'll leave them like that, and then we're going to make a stone, which is not terribly exciting. So we're going to make a cube. We are going to subdivide the cube, and we'll 2 subdivisions, and then I am going to set it to be smooth, and I'm going to apply this, although we normally never do that, and then with this on, and go G, and I'm just going to manipulate it a tiny bit, so it's not a standard size. Select it all, S Z, that's fine, and then I'm going to go U, Smart Unwrap to there. I don't want that image on it, and again I'm going to go to Materials, New, we'll call it Stone. Over here we'll add in our image texture, Open, and stone texture there, and we'll add the same thing in here. There it is. Not perfect, but perfectly fine. And we will place this in the ground, and we'll rotate it, scale it. Now I could add, I could do all sorts of things here. I could make this quite complex. And try and add hair to the ground. I can add grass. I can do all sorts of complex things, which I think I shall refrain from doing, because I said this is just going to be simple. So let's look through our camera and see aesthetically what works and what doesn't. Now we also want to take our, I'm just going to join all these planks into one object, just for convenience. I'll Control J. And I want to find, I'm going to change this back to being my outliner, and I want to find my focal point there. So, yeah. So it's going to bring that back just a little bit more, so a tiny bit more of the tree is in focus. Okay, so I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to call this 3D Menu Tree, and save that. I'm actually going to pack it so that all of the images stay inside, so you pack it by doing that. Go File, Save, then all the images are packed 4 files. And now let's see what we've got. So let's see what, I don't know how long this tutorial is, 25 minutes, gets us in terms of a background image. Maybe I need a big signpost with an arrow pointing to a hole in the ground saying dungeon. Now, And what we should probably do, so that all looks really nice, we should probably have the light come out of the hole in the ground. So let's do that. So let's take our lamp and go G, okay, so that's it there. And let's have a look at this. So we'll say use nodes. So where's my, there it is there, that's my lamp. So let's look through the camera and go to rendered mode. Now the light's coming up here. We can color the light just a little bit. And hello, sorry for that interruption. We can set the strength of it. And what we should probably do now is go to my camera and we go down to our depth of field, and our radius is 0.5, so we'll put 0.05. And now we've got more, so we still have a small depth of field, but not, yeah, maybe a bit better. Okay. Now, the last thing I'm going to do is I just want, so this is quite bright, so I'm going to do one more thing, which is a little bit of texture painting. So I'm going to take this here. I'm going to go to texture painting mode, and if we do that, and I can just paint directly on. So I'm going to make a dark color here, and not too strong. I want to make this sort of more like mud on the inside of the hole, maybe a little bit around the top, and we'll make it a bit darker. A little bit darker again. I probably won't see some of this, but that's okay. So now I need to save that, or I will cry later. So image, save image, and now render. Okay. And the only other problem we have here is the position of the tree. So let's fix that. Let's get out of texture paint mode. And I could move the tree, but it's going to be easier actually to move the terrain and ensure that it's, yeah. Now, I'll take this and place it in the tree, because that looked very well. We're going to tweak this. So the light that's up here, we're going to bring that right back down. Okay, and we'll yeah. Okay, so 0.1. There we go, so something like that. Just so that we can see we're out of focus, so maybe a little bit less. There we go. Now, so we're going to use this as our menu. Now, this is, how you, the composition of this is interesting. So, this is a split menu, so we can have the name and title of our game over here, or we can have an object here that can be we can use, and then we can have menu items over here like buttons, like sort of player selection, audio controls, press to play, level or whatever, difficulty selection, top scores, etc. So this menu here, the tree in the center of it, in terms of composition, is allowing me to have two separate sort of pieces of information in my design. Okay, so we're going to render this out. I'm going to increase my samples for the renders from 50 to 100 for maximum quality, because sometimes you get a thing called fireflies, which are like grain. So F12, and then this will be our finished image that we can use. And then as a 2D image, and then we'll also bring in the model to use in Unity as a 3D object as well. But that'll be a different tutorial. So this is just taking slightly longer because we've increased. So the last render was 30 seconds in total, and this one will take maybe twice, 3 times longer because we've increased the number of samples to increase the quality of our finished image. Okay, I still think I'm missing a tiny bit of light in the tree, so I'm going to be very bold and make another light. And I'm going to duplicate this and make it a point light. And give it a little bit more. Maybe change the color, maybe make it a little bit of blue. Okay, and we'll just maybe hang on. So we'll bring it close to where our focal point is. So there's our focal point, and there's our lamp. So we'll place that there. Okay, so this is the last render, and then we'll call it a day. Render. And we'll see what beauty we get. So far so good. So we're seeing a tiny bit of the effects of that light here, but not really enough. So you can see a little bit of blue on the rock here. So it is making a difference, but it's being overwhelmed by the other lights. So I'm going to stop the tutorial here. I'm going to probably go back and tweak those lights a little bit more. I'm not 100% happy with that, but it's not bad as a starting point. Okay, we'll leave it at that.